Hi, this is Dana Gibson of Shadowfax Software, wishing Mark and Alan a happy second year anniversary at being Two Voice Devs.
Hey, Mark and Alan. Andrew Francis here, recording from a hot and messy bedroom office in Montreal, Canada. As you know, I'm a big fan of Two Voice Devs. The Two Voice Devs, as far as I'm concerned, are the real deal when it comes to informing and encouraging folks to do incredible things with voice, regardless of your role, your experience, or even the VUI platform you use. I really believe we're entering a golden age of voice, and the Two Voice Devs are there with us, giving the play-by-play. So Mark and Alan, happy second anniversary, and I'm eager to hear what the Two Voice Devs have in store for us this season.
Hello, I'm Mark Tucker.
Hey there, I'm Alan Furstenberg, and we are Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Hello, Alan, and congratulations.
Hello, Mark. Congratulations. Can you believe it?
What are we congratulating each other on?
I thought you knew.
2 years.
2 years, right. 2 years of Two Voice Devs.
It's the big two?
The big two.
The two. Congratulations, sir.
And congratulations to you. You know, it is just literally just before we started this time, I said, we both took some deep breaths and said, we can do this. We've done this 103 times before. We can do this. And I think that's, it's remarkable. And it's been, again, something else that we noted just before we started was we've been doing this. You and I have been meeting, not just recording this, but you and I have been meeting just about every week for the past 2 years.
Yeah, and a lot of times we get into it and we're like, well, what are we going to talk about?
Right.
And it's like, this should be short. And then like an hour later, we're like still talking about stuff and
trying to figure out how to edit that down or split it up into 2 episodes, or and I think that would actually be a great subject for our second anniversary to talk about what goes into making this show. And on the surface, that doesn't seem like a voice development thing,
right?
But I have a funny feeling there will be some elements in there where there are tie-ins.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's about communicating. It's about sharing. It's having a conversation between us on a topic that we care about and engaging those out on social media and otherwise that are kind of part of the bigger voice family. So I think it counts. I think it's all
I definitely think it. And we have gotten people asking us how we do some of the work we do. And I think, again, some of the behind the scenes bits could be interesting to folks. So as always, every week begins usually, now there are always exceptions, but usually sometime Thursday, I will say something like, I have no idea what we're going to talk about today. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know. Sometimes I have an idea. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. And you, Alan,
right.
Come up with something.
And sometimes we do have stuff that we plan in advance, so around.
Yeah, no, that's to say we don't always wing it, but sometimes we're like, this would be a grethis was a question that we heard, or so we do some planning, but other times we're just kind of like, wow, we're both doing voice stuff in voice. What we want to talk about this week?
Yeah, what's been going on?
What have I been doing this week? And I think kind of that's how we started, and when we pitched this to each other, when we kind of started talking about it, it's like, let's just get together, kind of talk about what we've been doing during the week, development wise in voice. I'll give my perspective, Alan, you'll give your perspective, and that's kind of how we'll go. And that's what we've been doing.
Right. And, I think it's relevant that in a lot of ways, it really is, we're just chatting about it. And a lot of the feedback that I think we've gotten over the past 2 years has been that just chatting about it has been really, it's been what people want to hear. It's not packaged, but our excitement shows through, and we feed off of each other is one of the frequent comments that we get.
We do, yeah. And sometimes we're just thrown into a situation and we're like, this is this, and I'm like, well, what about this? Or I don't know everything about Google Assistant, and you've got a lot more experience there. So I ask a question. I'm like, oh, that's kind of like this in Alexa, and we just kind of talk back and forth, and we just go there and from there and see where it goes.
Or even just bringing in our engineering backgrounds. When one of us will discuss an idea and how we've run it down, it's very frequently the other one will say, well, that's great, but can we do this? And how do we do this? And that's very much the nature of what you find in good engineering shops, I think. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Talking. Yeah, we are. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. So what are we going to do today? What are we going to talk about?
So what are we talk about? And sometimes we'll plan this out, plan some topics out on a Google Doc. We'll jot down some notes. Or we'll make sure we've got a web page open that's relevant to what we want to talk about. But really, the final planning goes about when we join a Zoom call, and sometimes we'll hit record just when we're starting.
Yeah, almost immediately, because we're like, who knows what?
Right.
Sometimes and we don't do a lot of pre-chat. Sometimes we're like, okay, kind of like, which of these topics are we going to talk about today? But we don't really script out, well, you say this and we say, it's just kind of just a very high level.
There is no scripting, even to the point where our introduction of which of us says hi first. We've never scripted it. And there's been more than once that there are outtakes of us both trying to say it at the same time, or not, we didn't know who was going to say it first.
And so it's just kind of this big pause at the beginning.
So, but we're recording it, we recorded via Zoom. And, I think part of that is because back when we started 2 years ago, we were both familiar with it and we knew it could record.
Yep.
And we didn't have any other big ideas on how to do this. So
that's what they were using for Voice Lunch, and that's kind of how we met.
Yeah.
More formally as far as trying to decide if we're going to do this podcast. And so we just kind of went with it.
Yeah. And it's worked out. I think it's worked out reasonably well.
Yeah.
The recordings that get made are pretty good anyway.
Yeah. And, we just plug in our headphones and our microphone, and sometimes we try to adjust the color or the lighting so we're not so dark.
So let's actually take a moment and talk about what our specific setups are.
Okay.
What we're using, I've got a Logitech Brio, which I use for my camera. And I also use the microphone for it. So I've got it kind of all in one package there. And it works reasonably well. I think most people can see me most of the time.
So me, I'm just using my my ThinkPad Carbon and the built-in camera to that. I've got my Rode Podcaster mic that I bought back in 2017, and it's done me well. Just some cheap old wired earbuds.
Yeah, the wired headphones are wired headphones that I just plug in. Now you're sitting in front of a window. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there is a walkway right in front of me, and it looks out from, I've got a little courtyard that goes up to our front door, so I can look out to the walkway, out to the, easy for me to say, to the street, so I can see my neighbors across the street and trees and clear sky usually.
Well, when it comes to lighting, the more important part is that's providing the light, most of the lighting that we're seeing.
It is. I did purchase a ring light this last Christmas that provides some extra light. So that's me without the light now. Not getting quite as much light through here as I was. It depends on the time of the day and stuff. But
now I have off to my right, so over there, like in that direction, is where my window is, which can sometimes throw a bit too much light, especially during the day if you see me. Like this half my body gets lit up a bit much. But at this time of day, it's usually, and actually that's something else. We record, we start recording at
5 p.m. Arizona time.
5 p.m. Arizona time, any time of the year, which in the US or in the East Coast means it is either 7 p.m. or 8 p.m.
Yes, depending on daylight savings time. Because Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time and everybody else does, it's like we do. So part of the year, we're Mountain Standard Time when it's standard time. But when it's daylight savings time, then we're basically the same time as Pacific Daylight Time. So
but usually around that time, it's dark enough that I'm not getting much light from my window. I have in front of me, and maybe I'll include a picture of this at some point. I have a light that's mounted over my monitor that bounces light against the wall. There's a wall, a corner directly in front of me. So I'm bouncing the light off that, which is most of what's illuminating me and my background. And that's what I look like without it, and with just the light coming in from the window. So bouncing the light off the wall is one of those tricks that I learned a long time ago in videoing that really does an amazing job. If you don't have the light from a window coming in like you have, which is fantastic lighting, being able to bounce light off a wall rather than having light shooting directly at you.
Directly on you works well.
And definitely avoiding having, that the backlighting. The number of people I see that even now, 2 years into doing this all the time, still keep themselves backlit is really kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
So that's our setup. We're recording using Zoom, and then there's the recording itself, which we're doing, which is almost always off the cuff.
Yeah.
Really, there's very little that's scripted. Occasionally we will have some bullet points of what we want to bring up, and that's about it.
Yeah. So right now I'm thinking, what is Alan going to say next? I have no idea.
Yeah. And I'm thinking the exact same thing. I have no idea what I'm going to say next.
Actually, I don't even worry. I honestly, I don't even worry about it. We just get talking and it just happens.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that goes at one of the interesting things is we really don't keep a running clock. There was a time, there were a couple of episodes where we did have a clock running just to get a rough idea and make sure the segments that we were recording didn't go too long. But usually we don't, we're not really keeping track of the time. I think we generally aim for around 20 or 30 minutes.
And we ended up around 40 or 50 minutes.
Yeah, we usually end up longer, but we try to keep it at 20 or 30. And we seem to I think we tend to end it when it feels natural.
Yeah, that's true. I do have a question, since we're at the segment where we're talking about stuff. Do you purposely wear a blue shirt every week?
I keep forgetting you've only met me in person once.
That's true.
Yes, I purposely wear a blue shirt every week. But I purposely wear a blue shirt just about every day. So that's not really that unusual.
Oh, you're okay. I see. You have a wide swath of blue in your wardrobe.
I have a very wide, a very large collection of blue shirts.
I see.
Which I will try to include a picture of my blue shirts hanging in my closet. It's always been a color that I liked. And it was a part of the reason that I got the Google Glass frame color that I did was because I liked the color. So I used to have a couple of shirts.
Okay.
And then I would start wearing those shirts when I was wearing glass in public events. And over time, I kept getting more and more blue shirts to go with glass.
I see. All right. Very interesting.
I do own other color shirts. I've worn other color shirts. I just like blue.
Yeah, that's cool. So I wear my cap every week. That's something that I do. I am wearing orange, which I don't think I've ever worn orange before, but it was the brightest, happiest color I could find in my closet to help celebrate that this is our 2 years.
It's a very, I mean, it's definitely a color that stands out, and I think it works well.
Thank you.
Now, I remember, I think it was actually at our 1-year anniversary show, we discussed stuff that was on the shelves behind us as well.
Yes.
And you told me how you had accumulated a number, your wife had put up a number of Pepsi cans to see if I would notice.
And she was going to see if anybody noticed. Haven't done anything. She hasn't. Well, at least she hasn't told me that she's slide anything into the background. But
I used to have a number of Coke cans up there, and I still do on part of my shelf. But I cleaned out my shelves a little bit recently, so the Coke cans got moved off to the side, and I've done a little bit of redecorating in my background.
I have wondered about the phone hanging on your wall.
It's a phone. You recognize it as a phone. I have to wonder how many people who are watching this wouldn't recognize that as a phone.
No, is it a rotary dial?
It is a rotary dial phone. It is the phone that used to be in my kitchen my family's kitchen when I was growing up.
Oh, I see. Okay, that brings back memory. I can now was teleported right back to my family's kitchen, and the times where you'd have to get the long cord and stretch. Mm-hmm. You're like, it's too noisy. Somebody's watching TV in the other room, so you have to like stretch it across as far away as possible. Or somebody's like, "Well, hand me the phone," and then you're like, the whole long cord. But yeah,
to give you an idea just how long ago this seems, that phone, when I first used it, you could do 4-digit dialing to other people in the same exchange.
Oh yeah.
So if you were calling your neighbor, all you needed to do was dial 4 digits. And then eventually you needed to include the exchange, so it was 7 digits.
And then they had to use the area code.
Then you had to use the area. I mean, I think by the time you had to use the area code, though, they had switched away from rotary dialing.
Yes, it was touch tone by that point. But yeah, I could even imagine like people trying to figure out how to use the rotary dial phones if they've never seen those before, because it is kind of, I don't know, it just made sense to us, but it's kind of strange now.
Although if you've seen it, I've seen some of the movie shorts that Bell Labs created to introduce rotary dial telephones to people, to explain to them how you would use it. That
would be interesting.
How you can use direct dial instead of having to call the operator to place your call. Yeah.
Call Pennsylvania 65000, please, or whatever.
Pennsylvania 65. Okay. So we've done the recording, and usually at some point we will, after we sign off, and again, we don't have any cues about when we're going to sign off.
Yeah, we just kind of seem like, well, I'm kind of done, and I don't know, it just kind of happens too.
Yeah. And after that, again, we'll usually keep it running for at least a little bit to chat about what's going on. But occasionally we'll stop, and then we'll keep talking for a bit. And I think this is one of the really notable things about our weekly chats is that it's more than just, we're obviously here to record things, but we're also checking up on each other and seeing how we're doing. And,
yep.
If we've had a rough week, if we're not feeling well, how our families are doing. So yeah. It's always great to have those weekly check-ins and conversations.
Yeah, or something's bothering us from, a social, standpoint, yeah. or something. We're like, oh, it's just driving me nuts. And so it's, it's definitely a friendship and a checking in, just make sure everybody's okay. And sometimes it's just, hey, do you need to talk about something? And we're like, sure, or no, I'm okay.
Yeah. And when we do, it's, it's recording is off, because that's not something we want to, that's not something we'll need to share in the future.
Yep.
The really funny times, though, are when we do start talking and suddenly we say, we should turn the recording on.
Yeah, we thought we were done, and then we either hit a tangent or we
Or-
forgot to talk about something. We're like, hey, maybe we should just,
right,
so we turn it back on. And
or we suddenly realize we're off into a new episode, and let's finish talking about what we're talking, and then we'll record the intro and outro to it. Or in some cases, we've just recorded stuff on a whim, and the next week said, yeah, let's turn that into an episode.
Yep.
So that's happened on more than one occasion. And I think it's great how, again, it shows how organic these conversations can be, even when I'm using a inorganic term like organic. So we've recorded it, so we finished our recording. We sign off for the night. We close up the Zoom, and Zoom then decides to start saving the episode, which always worries me, because I'm sitting here going, I really hope it saves and not crash or something.
Has it ever crashed?
It has never crashed. Certainly for the first batch of episodes, I was using a different machine to record it. And I was a little worried it was going to crash, or a little worried I was going to run out of space. Right. But it never happened. Knock on particle board.
Yep.
So we've never lost a conversation yet, which I'm very glad about.
Yes.
And usually, I should also point out, we're also usually doing these recordings on a Thursday night after our previous episode has finished. After I've finished the editing part of our previous episode, and we've released it and done all of that stuff. So pretty much it's once one episode is finished, we're recording the next one right away.
Yep.
And once it's saved, that's when it starts to get interesting. So that might be when I'll ask you to make a bunch of screenshots for some of the stuff that we discussed.
Or provide links or
provide link,
yep.
And then I go in and do editing, and my editing process is kind of in two stages. So the first stage, I use iMovie to add the door frame in, or the logo that door frames into us, and us that door frames into the logo, and then a fade to black. And that's also where I add our Twitter handles at the opening few seconds, which, it's interesting that we keep using the exact same opening. The opening and closing have not changed since episode 1.
And a shout out to Curl for the graphics for Two Voice Devs.
Yep, for creating that initial logo, which has served us very well over the years. So I'll do those rough intro, outro credits, and then I will export that into another video. And then that's also where I'll trim off all of the opening and closing video parts that we don't do, the excess clips. And then I import it into a tool called Descript or Descript. I've heard them pronounce it different ways within the past couple of days. And I've only been doing that since about episode 30. So, yeah, okay.
A long time.
A while now still. But initially I did all of the editing in iMovie, and that was extremely laborious. Descript has a really, really nifty concept about how to do editing. And this is a little bit of voice technology, which is pretty cool. Is that when you import it into Descript, the first thing it does is create a full transcript of the conversation.
Okay.
And you can then edit the script. So if you select a bunch of words and hit delete, it deletes the words, it deletes the audio, it deletes the video.
So it's doing the cutting up clips out of the. Does it show you like typos or anything in its transcription or anything, or
it doesn't. Well, its transcription is pretty good.
Okay.
It's not great. So what I usually end up doing is going through the entire. I watch the entire thing, sped up a little bit. And in doing so, I will catch it where it's got typos for some common words. So for example, it really likes using the word intense instead of the word intense.
So this is intense.
Really, really intense. Yeah, that's going to be an opening. That I have a funny feeling is going to be the picture that I use for our title card. And that's one of the other, actually, I should mention that one. That's one of the other things that I do with iMovie is I'll usually go through it and find a couple of frames that look like they may be potentially good title cards, and save those out and do some title card editing later. So I will then go through the Descript script, and usually that's where I will, if there are long periods where we haven't said anything, I'll cut that out. Or if there's a point where we're doing that a lot,
yeah,
I will cut that out because there's only so much of us saying and that you can take. I do actually leave in most of our ums and uhs, simply because I think I feel like taking them out will make it a little bit choppy. You do start to notice when that happens, and I feel like the disfluences are part of what makes it sound natural. It's part of
that's who we are. We're not
right,
perfect or polished.
No, and I think if we tried to sound it, it would sound wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't edit that too much. And I'll edit out large chunks where one of us says, "Hang on a minute," and have a coughing fit, or where something happens, like a cat suddenly jumps on my lap. We've had these things before.
We've had those, yeah. What I would like to say though is that you're actually really good at when we have one of those pauses and we have to start back up from a previous part of the conversation. You have a good knack for just kind of jumping right back in where you left off. And I've noticed that. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm that confident in that.
You do better than you think. We've had a lot of interesting cases where it's happened, and sometimes I can match them back up again afterwards pretty well, and sometimes not. But I think in every case it's worked out well.
Yep.
We've had no major problems, certainly.
Now, how often do you strategically use? Because most of the time we're side by side, but sometimes you zoom into one of us or the other. Are there strategic moments when you choose to do that?
It's interesting. It used to be when I was doing iMovie. iMovie had a really good tool for zooming in on one or the other of us, and the proportions worked out really well. I have not done that as much with Descript. Descript doesn't have as sophisticated video editing.
Yeah.
So I could probably jump from the cut of the two of us to just one of us, but I couldn't do that zoom in effect that I could do with iMovie. So I haven't done that as much in a while. And when I did it, I tended to do it mostly in cases where one person was describing something for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Or one person would be, trying to illustrate a point, and it made more sense to focus on just one or the other of us rather than trying to capture one of us and the other person, just seeing the other person going, we'll get to that one anyway. So I'm hopeful that Descript is launching a new version soon, which will have more video editing capability. So we'll see if it has some of these new tools to do it, and you may see more of that in the future. But I also think it's appropriate for both of us to be on screen as much as possible. And when I do cover things up these days, I tend to cover it up with screen shares or portions of web pages or screenshots
Yeah.
or other illustrative things to help illustrate what we're doing, rather than just seeing two talking heads all the time. That's also, however, a lot of additional work. So you're stuck with two talking heads most of the time.
Yeah. We don't get paid for this, and you take the whole lion's share of the editing work and publishing, and so, which I'm very grateful for.
I do enjoy doing it. It was an interesting learning experience up front. And learning how to use Descript was a learning experience. And I'll admit there are some weeks when I'm in the middle of editing and I'm going, right, gotta finish this editing. Because we have great conversations, but watching the same great conversation for the second or third time can get a little overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
And that actually goes a little bit to the timing of it. So some weeks I will knock out the editing by Sunday afternoon. Other weeks, and this week happens to be one of them, it will be Thursday morning and I haven't finished editing it yet. And I'll say, I'm a little behind in editing. It'll be out soon.
Yep.
I promise. So once I finish the editing and create the video, and sometimes I'll, if there are particularly interesting bits in the middle, I'll try to pull those out for a teaser or something. We haven't done that in a while. Once that's done, I will export it. I'll go back to the frame grabs that I did for the title card, possible title cards, and pick one, pick two. If we haven't already decided on a title, and sometimes we decide on a title ahead of time, and other times,
but most of the time it's you that comes up with the creative titles.
It's a last minute creative titles. It is a last minute decision on my part, where I try to come up with something. We've had some interesting titles over the past couple of years. We've had at least 3 musical references that I can think of. A tongue twister. Yeah. I did get feedback at one point that I needed to make the titles less creative and more descriptive. So I've tried to make them more descriptive, but that's gotten boring. At any rate, I will add the episode and title to the title card. And for the past bunch of episodes, we've continued to use a Ukrainian flag color motif in our color scheme. Yep. We'll save, and I do that editing using GIMP, which is a free photo editor, if you're not familiar with it, that is vaguely like Photoshop. And then once, when I do the export from Descript, I export 4 different files. So I export a text version, which gets saved as RTF, which we used to use when importing it into our action. I export a VTT file, which is a subtitle format, which it's a standard subtitle format, but it's also one that YouTube recognizes. Okay. I will export an MP3 version, which I upload to Anchor, and I'll export an MP4 version, which is what gets uploaded to YouTube.
All right.
I do the uploads to those, come up with some sort of a description somehow, enter in the metadata. On the YouTube side, I add the end credits. If you've ever seen the end credits, thank you very much. And usually in both cases, I'll have it done by Thursday morning. So I'll schedule it for release at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then usually sometime after 11 a.m., I'll write a tweet and copy the contents of that tweet to LinkedIn and send them both out. And then you usually retweet sometime after that.
Yep. That's the process.
That's the process. And then Thursday night, we started all over again.
With the, hey, what should we talk about tonight?
And some weeks we are fortunate that we record 2 episodes in a week.
Yeah.
In which case, hopefully I'll have 1 episode done by Sunday and I can get a jump start on the second one. And that almost never happens.
And sometimes we try to get kind of a group of them done ahead of time if we know that one of us is going to be out or not. So there's been times where we've skipped a week or 2.
Definitely. And also, there have been times when we've had a guest host in, and we'll either skip our recording that week or we'll do a recording that week and really try to get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we've been slacking a bit on the guest host, but I think we've got some interesting ones already lined up. So I'm hopeful we'll have some fun ones over the next year.
Yeah, so we'll be going into our 3rd year. That's
our 3rd year.
That's crazy.
It really is.
I like it though. I like it a lot.
I'm really glad that we're doing it. So thank you, all of you, for being part of this. We really do appreciate you listening and you giving your feedback.
Right. And encouragement.
And encouragement. It's been quite a ride, and I don't think we would keep doing, at least not this part of it, without the feedback from people about what it is that you like and what it is you're looking forward to.
Yeah.
And again, it's 2 years down. I really do think there's plenty more to go.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about, on camera and off, that things are changing and they continue to change, evolve, sometimes not as fast as we would want, sometimes surprisingly in other ways. And we just keep learning and developing and, getting more experience and getting more feedback from others. And it's been a very enjoyable 2 years of doing this.
Yeah. And, I think a special thanks to not just to everybody out there who's listening to us, but also to just a couple of people that really have been supporting us along the way and supporting this endeavor along the way. I know for me, aside from our families, who, I don't know, my family is still kind of, you're doing a podcast? Okay.
I do get some teasing at different times, but also a lot of respect that this is Thursday night's podcast night, and everybody's been very supportive.
Yes, very supportive, and also our workplaces who have been very encouraging of us doing projects like this, and I'm really thrilled. I'd like to thank my boss, who I think is always wondering exactly how this fits into my day job, but has always been very supportive of my endeavors outside of work.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for my coworkers and friends here at Rain. It's been a great place to work, and they've pushed me, and I've learned quite a bit, and as much as I can, I talked about some of the different things that I'm learning here. And just recently, I'm just really grateful for some of the efforts that they've done for open source. I'm a big proponent of the open source community. I've contributed, financially and code wise to that, and just recently worked as a leadership team to kind of streamline some of the processes to allow us at Rain to open source some of the things that we're working on. And excited about, talking about that more with you, Alan, and kind of what that means and how other people are doing it. But just really grateful for where I work and the things I get to do every day.
Yeah, so am I. Well, definitely looking forward to talking about your open source projects on a future episode, as well as all of the stuff that we'll be talking about another time on Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Take care, Alan.
Take care, Mark. It is fantastic having these weekly conversations with you for the past 2 years.
Same here. Congratulations again.